Hey guys, welcome back to the Simply Rooted podcast. And today we have the biggest fan of the podcast and also my sweet mom. Um, I call her mom, but this is Katy Merritt. And man, it is such an honor to have her on the podcast today. She is, the biggest reason besides Jesus that I have a faith at all and has just taught me so much. And it's especially a really cool gift because it's her 60th birthday on the day that this podcast comes out. And so who better to chat with about just her life so far and what God's taught her in these 60 years than on her 60th birthday. And who better than my mom? So excited to have her on. And yeah, Mom, do you want to talk about yourself at all?
Well, thank you. First of all, my reaction when you asked me to be on this was shock and a little bit of horror because the last two guests are amazing. I thought, what could I possibly say?
Oh.
So thank you. I'm really touched and I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you, Krista. But yes, I'm Katy Merritt, and we live in Madison with my husband, Stuart. I've got Krista and her brother, David, and yeah, just a great family. I married into a wonderful family. She married into a wonderful family. So life is pretty amazing. Thank you.
This is definitely a high point of our lives.
It is. It is. Years ago, it was just you, me, and David for a long time. So this is pretty amazing. It just, our heads spin once in a while when we talk about it. But.
Yeah. And as you get to hear my mom, she's just the most joyful woman you'll meet. And yet she's walked through really hard stuff. So I'm also really excited just to hear a little bit more, Mom, of what you've learned. And the big question I just want to ask today is, what has God taught you in your life? 60 years is a long time and certainly a lot of ups and downs. And I also rushed Mom on this, because it was also my daughter's birthday this weekend. She turned 2. So there's a lot of fun stuff to celebrate, but I didn't give Mom a lot of prep. So
what I've learned, well, let me just say, when I was your age, I don't think my faith was anything compared to what it is now. It really matured a lot over the years. And like anybody, we've had hardship. We have had quite a bit of tragedy in our lives, as we know. And that definitely shapes a person. And without tragedy or hard times, I wouldn't be who I am. We wouldn't have our faith. Yeah. And I've learned so crystal clear that even during the darkest chapters, God blesses us. On those days where it's hard to visualize what that might look like, even waking up in the morning to another day of life, getting up out of your comfortable bed, walking across the room, all those abilities, having indoor plumbing, electrical lights. It sounds funny, but those are the start of a day that you already want to thank God for his incredible goodness. And again, that's during really difficult days where your heart's heavy. But if you just are mindful and pay attention to all the good that he does in our lives, that makes you joyful. That helps you through those hard days. And then when you really stop and think, even without those things, for God to love us so much that he sent his son to die such a horrific death for us, the incredible gifts of eternal life, a home in heaven, righteousness with the Father. Wow. Think of what sinners we are, but when he looks at us, he sees Jesus is good and nice. And forgiveness of sins is huge. So I learned that. During hard times, you just always remember that God's in charge. And that is such a relief, really, because when you think, how do I get out of this situation? How do we move on? At one point, I had family all very far away when you and your brother were young. I was a single parent and life was very difficult, going through some super tough times. You just look to God, you just trust him. You have to wait sometimes, which is not easy. And we're lucky that we don't have to come up with a solution to those things. We know he's the king of the universe. He knows what's best for us. We have to just trust him. We have to just take the next step and the next step and the next step. And be filled with thankfulness, because the combination of trust and being thankful can really lift your heart. And again, there's always so much to be thankful for. Even during those grim times. And God does provide. He provides in such amazing ways, whether it's financial or relational or physical. I've noticed he puts people alongside you, people across your path, whether it's close friends that I've had suddenly appear, or even strangers. So he's so faithful in just astonishing ways. And I could ramble on about that much longer.
I love that, Mom. When you talk about like the next step, like when you are a single parent with young kids by yourself with not a lot of community around, how do you like trust for that next step? Like, how do you wake up every morning and just go?
Well, you pray for that, first of all. And there's so much power in prayer. That's something I've learned also as I've gotten older. Initially when you start to pray as a young person, it's just a nice tradition and you feel like you're doing the right thing. But as you get older and your faith matures, you realize that it's such a heartstring connection to God is the prayer. And somehow, however he does it in his own miraculous ways, he provides that step. He opens doors. He makes circumstances suddenly take place that seem so obvious that you might not have noticed before. And I've learned also that prayer time is not just in the morning or at night or at the meal, but throughout the day. If there's something that's very stressful or difficult, I shoot up like an arrow prayer for please help me with this situation. Please help me, Lord. What should I do? And it can be silent. It doesn't have to be verbalized, but even in your just your mind. And that said, also to send up thanks throughout the day when a blessing is just so obvious you can't contain it.
You're so good at that.
I don't know. So yeah. Thank you.
What else? Have anything else that you've thought about recently?
Yeah, it's pretty neat. You turn 60 and you think, boy, that's getting up there, but I still feel young in so many ways because God's put so many incredible things in my life in the last decade. I've remarried a wonderful man. I'm going to get to cry.
Oh,
I'm going to cry. A wonderful man, his incredible family, and his kids and grandkids and his mom, and just, wow. So that's been really fun. Like, just puts a real spring in your step. And, to see my own kids turning out so well and be so blessed and so happy. And just I feel like I'm in such a good place.
You are. I would say also, like, I think one thing we really need to talk about, too, is the waiting. Because, like you said, the last decade has been really good, but you've had really hard times. And we even talked about this earlier today, just about waiting. Like, how do you wait? Like, you didn't know that God was going to give you all this amazing stuff this last decade, but you went through some decades that were super hard. And prayer, I'm sure, is one of it, and trusting. But, like, now that you're on the other side of this waiting, where everything is so good all of a sudden, like, what encouragement do you have for people who are waiting? I know a lot of people listening are waiting for different things. We're all waiting on something.
Right. Well, during some of those tragedies, I realized tragedies in the family, let's say, with some people passing away and such, and in such unexpected ways. You just give it all to God. You literally think, Lord, I give you my life. I give you my present situation, my future. I have absolutely nothing because it's all yours. And I just trust you completely. And I'm frightened. I'm confused. I have no idea what the next step might look like. Just cling to you and just, please help me. And I think God always answers those heartfelt, desperate prayers. And the great stuff doesn't happen overnight, certainly, but little by little things develop, I guess. And I would say definitely he gives you strength that you never thought you had, an insight and ability. And again, he rearranges circumstances just so that things move you along in the right direction, it seems like. And it's so fun when you look back on years that were so hard. And you can see his hand in so many ways, and things make so much more crystal clear sense. At the time, they didn't at all. So the waiting is tough, but when you look back and you remember that God's been faithful before, he'll be faithful again. We'll certainly go through hard times because we all do, but he strengthens us through that. And always just the thankfulness throughout hard times is hard to muster, but it's so important. And again, I mean, just eternal life and a home in heaven, and God's love. Yeah, that's enormous. So
he doesn't have to do all the other great things he does, but he does give such good gifts.
He really does. He really does. And if nothing else, get out in nature and look up. So often we forget to get out there and do things. But nature, I think that's God's best handiwork out there in terms of his beauty, his glory, his majesty. And when you feel like life is overwhelming and terrible and you're stressed and you're scared, fresh air, definitely, but just looking at the beauty of the world, just the sky alone, the arrangement of the clouds and the sunsets and you'll see a bird, you'll see a squirrel. I mean, just getting out there is just a reminder of his power, what he can do. And then it also makes you feel like your problems aren't always quite as overwhelming as they felt a few minutes prior.
You've taught me that very well. I love being outside and seeing my problems shrink.
Isn't that true?
When I'm out there.
Sweet. Well, and your faith has also grown my faith a bit more too, or a lot more, I have to say, over the years. It's wonderful. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. You're a spirit. You're not only my physical earthly mother, but you're also such a good spiritual mother. It's been so fun.
You're such a sweetheart. I love you.
Something that popped into my head while we were talking was God redeems brokenness. And I don't know if you want to comment on that, but that just popped in my head. And that just feels like a it could be a motto for your life. It could be a motto for my life too, of brokenness in our pasts that have been redeemed to points where we're like, how could who I was back then be what I am now? Or where I was back then, how could it ever have become this? Like,
it's a really good point. Well, in the process of all that, of being redeemed, God uses us through all those stages, let's say, and you just always want to be a blessing to whomever you meet or who he places in your path. And in the case of, let's say, like my new family through my husband, they've all gone through some hard, very, very hard things. They've gone through loss of their own, which is so tragic and awful. And you just want to try to make a difference in their lives, be positive, try to shine God's life and light into their lives. So yeah, I mean, he uses brokenness to help us help others, to try to be his hands and feet and to love them and encourage them and just try to make a difference in their lives, I suppose.
Well, you do that so well.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, if it weren't, I think God's like tapestry of our lives is so pretty. I love thinking of how he weaves all those little details in, but just like
that.
Also thinking like, man, you wouldn't have been a blessing to umpteen people recently if you didn't go through hard things in your past that led you to the spots you are today.
So true.
Yeah, God's purposes prevail over that stuff so much. It's just so cool.
It is. It's amazing. He's amazing.
He is, yeah.
Beautiful.
So, Mom, thanks for being on. This was just so sweet. And
thank you. Yeah, I was a little horrified, and but I also like to talk about how amazing God is. Like underneath everything, I'm pretty shy, but talking about God is wonderful. It feels great.
I'm shy too, just because I have a microphone. And God telling me to do this is the only reason I'm doing it. I wouldn't do it otherwise, that's for sure.
I think what a shy little girl you were. I remember vividly. That's phenomenal to see how he's using you.
Keeping me very dependent on him through all this. But is there anything else that popped into your head as we were talking?
Well, I want to just comment on the people God's placed in my life just in the last decade. I think of it's just mind-blowing, really. I mean, the people at our church, our small group, women and their husbands are amazing. My husband, his family, he's got just the most wonderful mom, and his dad I had the privilege of knowing for a few years, and his children, his sons and daughters-in-law and their grandkids. And I can't believe it, because like I said, there was a point where it was just you and your brother and me living in a small town in northern Minnesota not very long ago.
No, and our Christmases were just the three of us.
Just the three of us.
Thanksgivings were just the three of us, and now our biggest problem around the holidays is how are we going to fit all these family Christmases
exactly
in? That alone just is
it's a wonderful challenge.
So glorifying of God's redemption of things.
Well, and also too, like, I mean, God's always placed some really true great friends in my life throughout the years, and that's made such a difference too. And so I feel like nowadays so many people are isolated, and they don't reach out and have the personal connection. And I feel so grateful that God's placed people in my life to just bring so much joy into it.
Well, you're also that friend to a lot of people too, though.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, you're so sweet.
Oh.
Thank you.
Well, not that this is the most important question, but I'm excited to ask you this because, I mean, one of the first things you talked about was being thankful, and you've always taught us to be thankful. And I mean, the Thankfulness Thursday, I think, and just always sharing gratitude. You've always shown me that, in the world, and to look at the little things. So, very important question for you, Mom. But what are some things you're thankful for right now?
It was a gigantic list, but I'll go with some of the small, subtle things besides the obvious ones. Big news is that your daughter now says Nana when she sees me.
Oh, I love it.
And when I arrived yesterday for the visit, she had a big smile. And it used to take her a little while to get used to me and such. So that's a big joy. It's thrilling.
And then every time you've left the room, she goes, Nana, 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 which is so fun.
That's very sweet. We got 2 inches of snow in Madison. Was it last weekend or so? And I don't think you had any, and we're quite a bit south. But I love snow. I am all about winter. So 2 inches of snow is such a joy to see out our window. I love that. So that was great. Thick warm socks. I love warm socks, and
me too.
I'm a sock person by nature, but the really thick, heavy ones for the winter, I love taking those out. So that's been kind of fun. I'm not a big pumpkin spice person, but the other day, Stuart brought me a pumpkin strudel that was a nice surprise. He'd met a friend for lunch, and he brought me a pumpkin strudel back, which was delicious.
Ooh.
So that was outstanding. Getting coffee with you yesterday. Krista and I used to do coffee once in a while. That reminded me of some fun old Mom and Krista dates over the years. So getting some Starbucks was really, really fun.
That was sweet.
I've gotten some really sweet texts from some close friends and family this week, which makes me so grateful for the invention of the cell phone. And for those of you that are so young, I mean, you can't remember life before cell phones, but I feel like texting is such a great invention. There's not always time for a phone call, like letters, who has time for that? But like getting texts from people you really love every once in a while is just a delight. Prayer time with my husband. That's like one of my favorite things to do. It feels so wonderful to be married to such a godly man, and praying with him just feels incredible. We just feel so close as a couple. We feel God's presence. We know if 2 or more of us are gathered and his name is with us, and that's indescribable. And he gives the most wonderful hugs.
Aww.
My husband. I'm sure God does too, but my husband gives the most wonderful hugs.
Stuart's the earthly representation.
Trying to think what else. Well, there's just so much. So the list is massive, but those are just some of the highlights. So and I'll also say, we had your husband's side of the family over for your daughter's birthday today, and just seeing you with them, seeing all of them together, it's just an incredibly wonderful group. I just can't stop smiling when I think about them. They're all so fun and sweet and kind and thoughtful, and to see Erica growing up with just a tremendous family, just so thrilling, and we're just delighted to be a part of that.
It's a prayer that I never even thought to pray growing up, asking for a big, happy family, but God has given it to both of us, which is really cool. So, yeah, really, really grateful.
That's just so much good. And yes, there's always downsides, hardship. There's always some pain in our lives, but the good really outshines the bad.
It does.
I'm just thankful to God.
Oh, I love you, Mom. Thank you so much for doing this. Sorry I sprung it on you a little fast, but
that's okay.
I think I'm gonna get a lot of people reaching out about this one. It's so fun to just hear your wisdom, and also I think a lot of things that people say, like think about me, they see reflected in you too, or even just listening to you speak, it's like, oh man, I am Mom. Like we are very similar, and so many of the things that you've taught me have turned me into who I am today, and just
that's so sweet.
Your love of prayer, your appreciation of people in your life, your just thankfulness and trust in the Lord through all the ups and downs. I mean, that has been so inspiring for me as a kid and for me as an adult. So
thank you, Krista.
So grateful.
So much. Oh, my pleasure.
And happy 60th birthday.
Thank you.
It's a big thing to celebrate. I hope it shouldn't be a negative thing. That's just such an amazing achievement and an honor to have known you for this long.
Thank you. Well, I'll come back on my 70th. And of course, then you'll be turning 40.
You have to come back before that too, for sure. I think people are going to request that.
Oh, yeah, right. All right. I love you, sweetheart.
Thank
you.
Mom.
It was a privilege.
And thanks for listening, everybody. Have a happy Thanksgiving. And just so appreciative for you guys listening too. And thanks to Mom, my #1 fan. So grateful. But that's what moms are for also. I bet if this podcast was really crummy, she would still love it. But love you, Mom.
Love you, honey.
And love you, friends. Have a great week.